Good morning, good people. I hope the Lord is keeping you and His grace is sufficient. I've traveled out of my home, Nairobi in Kiambu, and I've visited a place called Chulu. We are several kilometers from Chulu, almost 100. But I'm at the border of Kenya and Tanzania. And the sheer difference between the weather is evident that weather is everything. Even though in agriculture, soil fertility is one of the major factors. But I'm shocked in this area of Kilimanjaro. You can see behind me, we still have maize. You can see the atmospheric water is really helping the plantation and food crops in this area. Now, I think I have seen that Mount Kilimanjaro has already formed its glacier. It is back, albeit not 100%, but at least you can see the effect. So the dry, long spell or season has brought what I can say human failure, because when you decide to supply water on pipes other than people relying on natural sources like river, and when there is a dry spell, you sabotage the supply of water of some people. So while the maize is green and everything looks good, this area is lacking water. This is one of the challenges of living in a country called Kenya, and services do not reach you, while us, you're part of paying VAT, and you pay tax in whatever form. There are people who have companies here, they do pay VAT. They do filing every month. There are people who consume goods and services and they pay VAT. And value-added tax in Kenya is also very expensive, because for something that was around 140 shillings, you have to part with around 19 shillings as tax. So this area is an agricultural area, and having water challenge is actually regrettable. And probably because we are entering an electioneering year, it is wise to ask politicians to consider water supply. I personally am an investor in this region at a place called Nkama, and that place has been having water challenges ever since. My grandfather brought land at this place in around 1972, and water was supplied 2 years ago. So we are hoping that the people of this other region near the mountain are going to get water supply. There are other areas, like now where I have a property in Nkama, there are no green maize. This is Nkama area, and the insufficient rain has made this place lack food crops in this season. Remember, Loitoktok is a one-season region, and having no food, because agriculture is the economy of the people, it really brings a lot of tension, conflicts at home, confusion, and what have you. So I shot this place. It is my cousin's farm next to mine, because I don't do agriculture, just to show a comparison between these two regions. So this is the area of Ronkena, and it's not the whole region. You will find maize that have survived the carnage of the dry spell season and in adequate rainfall. But you'll also find there are other lower areas in this region where they don't have any hope. The irony is that these people go to the same church and pray to the same God. So it will be interesting to find out what is the witness of these people, their experience, their spiritual encounter, and their hope. Sometimes people take for granted faith and religious life. People just do what they were told. Many Christians do not take time to listen to the voice of God, because God speaks to everyone. I've always said that you do not have to be told by somebody the kind of God to pray and how to pray. Fear that person, because you'll become a slave of spirituality. While Christianity tells us very clearly that the Holy Spirit abides in our bodies. And if that is the case, it means that God also communicates to us directly. If the salvation of Jesus came to everybody, and it only needs a decision and a choice, why should somebody else come and tell you about their encounter, their people's encounter, and make you believe in that, other than you having an encounter and also have a possession of faith, a share of this salvation, and also a witness that is unique from your context, that you'll be able to share with the world, for the world to learn, and especially the non-believers, whom we condemn without showing them anything that comes from us directly, that God has shown us. It is so unfair that the polarization of religion and governance began with the missionaries. And these are the people who taught us the kind of God to pray, the kind of way to worship. And you wonder, was it necessary? For if salvation was to all mankind, was it necessary for there to be people in Africa who will learn about how Roman Catholics, their encounter, their experience, and replicate the same? Is that a true religion? Is that a true worship? Is that a true faith? Why would people come from Scotland to teach us their encounter in the church called PCA? Why will the Greeks also come and teach people about their encounter, their experience? Why will the English people come with Anglican to teach us about their experience, their encounters? Why wouldn't they have just brought to us the message of salvation and we pick it and fly with it? Why will the Americans also come with their own church? Now, we need to start thinking differently and decolonize salvation, decolonize faith, and decolonize our minds. Colonization has different effects to us in a different way. I've always said our education needs to be decolonized. Our health systems need to be decolonized. Our judiciary needs to be decolonized. Our politics needs to be decolonized. Our religions or faith traditions needs to be decolonized. And this is to say that whatever systems and structures that were left behind by the missionaries, they were colonial. And for the reason that I've said, we are wired or conditioned differently by the system of all these areas, including the final one that gives us hope of livelihood or even lifestyle, that is called economy. They all need to be decolonized. Now look at this. There are people who believe this is a coffee tree. The people who believe that coffee was imported by missionaries or colonialists. What they only did was to make it a cash crop. Large-scale farming for commercial purposes. But coffee has always grown in the East African highlands. Bananas, they have always been in Africa. If you want to know any food that came with colonialists, missionaries, and recent commercial agriculturalists, they don't have a local name. Any food with a local name is an indigenous food. So our food systems need to be protected as well, because you can see seeds have been patented. We now grow seeds that are not favoring our soils that need fertilizers. So when we are studying in school, and I'm happy that CBE is almost 50% decolonized. The only part remaining is they have belittled what God endowed in people, which is talent. And they are still praising STEM and social sciences. That is a sign of colonization. And so probably it is not even 50% decolonized. It is 30% decolonized. It also has those grading systems which do not augur well with children, because children are differently endowed. And so why do you put them in an academic IQ system to assess them? So still, CBE has a long way to go. This is not a banana tree. This is a banana flower. It is poisonous. You cannot eat it. So we also have pumpkins. They have a local name. And it is not a Kiswahili translation. It is a local, traditional, tribal nation name. This tree was part of our medical system. It used to treat wounds. It used to seal wounds. Whenever you get a cut, you go for this tree. You take a leaf. Where you've plucked it, where you have disjointed from the tree, whether it is a leaf or a branch, the sap was applied on the fresh wound, and the fresh wound will be sealed. That was our elastoplast. We call it elastoplast, but it has a name I've forgotten. And it also acted as a bandage. When the wound was big, you needed more of the same, because we didn't have jelly, petroleum jellies, and the only antiseptic that was near, probably animal or human urine for antiseptic. So I am entering into a traditional Kikuyu hospital where people are treated using herbs. Today, 2026, we still have a health system that has always been in Africa for almost millions, hundreds of millions of years. And it's something to be proud of. It has survived the hegemony of imperialists. So we need to decolonize. We still have examples to follow. And also read my book, The Ancient African History and Culture. People also believe that zero grazing came with these exotic animals. Zero grazing was also and always done by both pastoralists, agriculturalists, and mixed farmers. The traditional African cattle, not calves and small kids or small sheep, they never used to go for the long stray searching for pasture. They've always moved with the small boys and girls within the vicinity, or were left behind in the homestead, because the original traditional African homes were fenced using twigs, thorny twigs, to fend off predators. And so sometimes they were left behind. And you can see this is a good example. These are straws or remains of beans and green peas. And these, sometimes even the straws of harvested maize were cut and given to those small animals. But these big ones used to go for pastoralism. So people confuse that because these exotic cows, here we have Jansi, we have Jersey, and we have Fresian. And it's a mix. We have a hybrid of Zebu and these exotic animals. So People confuse that because the exotic animals that came with the colonialists and missionaries cannot go for long distance search for pasture. And because they are not designed and they were not created for the African terrain and economy. So people think that the art of zero grazing came with the exotic animals, and the colonial way of keeping livestock, because the colonial way is the European way of capturing and dominating. That has always been the approach of the Europeans since the time of Alexander of Macedonia. And you can see even in animals, they always capture and dominate. For us, we let our economy free out of our borders. We moved from one place to another with our economy. Our nationalism was also free. It moved with the migration. There are those who are left behind. There are those who moved to form other communities, and that's how nations grew. In Africa, we don't identify with only one tribal nation. The amalgamation, the alliance, the coalitions, the mergers, the intermarriages brought up new forms of languages, amalgamated cultures, and unique way of thought. And so you cannot say that African tribal nations were unique as an individual tribal nation. The uniqueness was always in the growth and development of two different extinct groups that came up together and brought forth a new idea, a new thinking, and a new view of life. So I'm happy and proud that today I've been able to give you a practical lesson from a farm where we still have a traditional hospital. People come from all over Tanzania, as far as Meru, to come for treatment. And while you keep saying that these are not people who are called by Christ, because they still use plantations, the conventional medicine also comes from plants. Know yourself and be wise.